Welcome to Saving Throws, the only podcast that reads children the monster manual to send them off to sleep. My name's Harry, and I'm cultivating mass.
I'm Kingsley, and I'm cultivating mass.
My name's Ali, and I'm cultivating mass.
And if you could possibly just spare us a little like, a share, a subscribe on any of our platforms. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. That would be just so greatly appreciated. It helps the channel, it helps us, and we simply love to see it. We love to see your beautiful little faces interacting with us and the platform. We just love it, you know?
It is something we love. And if you don't,
So
we will
good.
send that big brand new spanking big goth vampire from Resident Evil after you.
Dude, don't even fucking... It, like, every time she comes up, it, like, personally victimizes me. Like, I feel attacked every time I see her. I'm like, God, it's like they knew what I wanted.
I'm after a Shigo girl. Harry's after an 8 foot tall vampire goth lady.
Yeah, dude.
And again, I mean, he wants it back so bad. His call name right now is that face when vampire milker.
Okay, every episode,
All right,
you're gonna
Mr.
call
No
me
More
out.
Big Mummy Milkers.
Yes, I'm okay with
out.
my name being revealed. I changed my name to No More Big Mummy Milkers because we were meant to start recording this podcast at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We didn't start until 2:29 because these two would not stop saying Big Mummy Milkers or Big Vampire Milkers, and I had to sit there shaking my fucking head.
It's my culture. Stop fucking
Unless a
attacking
new
me.
law, unless a new law is passed saying that I can no longer legally say Big Mummy Milkers or Gazongas, fine, dude,
Yeah,
fine.
I mean, come on.
It's a
I'm
really
fucking
good thing that
right.
we don't have enough followers, enough subscribers and views on YouTube yet. Because if we had a number of them, we'd be getting demonetized right now. But that's the good thing when you're not making money off YouTube yet. You can say whatever you want and not have to worry about not being monetized.
Yeah, this video
I mean,
will never
is it
be
really a
monetized.
crime? Is it a crime to love
I'm
big,
gonna-
sexy, tall vampire ladies?
It might be.
No, it
I'm
is
gonna hit you
not.
with a real question. Are vampires intrinsically goths? That's my question.
It
I mean,
depends.
I don't really think so. I mean, like, I liked one of the portrayals, and I might get hate for this because I love the Blade movies. I even love the third one, and everyone's like, the third one's the worst one. I like it. I love how Dracula in that is, I can't remember the actor's name. He played Heat something in DC's Legends of Tomorrow and in The Flash. He was also the main character's brother in Prison Break. I love that he's made him this like big buff dude with a leather jacket. He was not gothy at all. Even the people he works around, they had that kind of office goth vibe. But he, Dracula, is just this big muscly dude in a leather jacket, and that's him.
Is
That's
it
so
Dominic
sick.
Dominic Purcell?
That's it, Dominic Purcell. That's
He's
his name.
built like a brick shithouse. I don't know
Yeah,
how
and,
you're
and
gonna be
remember,
like, yeah, this
remember,
dude's
Blade
goth.
3 was like back when he was fairly young, so he was like the peak then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wild.
Dude's
I mean,
fully 50 years old now.
It's why I loved watching the fight with him and Blade so much, because just two, like, it's not like your vampire supernatural crazy fight, it's just two buff vampire dudes beating the shit out of each other on a table.
yeah,
Hey.
don't you just want to see it every day? I mean, to answer your question, Vampire the Masquerade is great because it gets to sort of explore all the aspects of what you would imagine a vampire could be in like different clans and such.
Yeah.
I'm personally partial to like big, dumb, sexy himbo vampires. Like, I think that's like my favorite interpretation of vampires.
Like Frankenstein's monster kind of himbo.
Yeah, I guess the thing about Frankenstein's monster is that there's like two kinds of
Let's get
Frankenstein.
into this.
Or
Let's
do
get
you
into
mean,
Yeah.
or do you mean more like the Van Helsing, Dracula's three like wench vampires, three wives that are sisters? You mean like those big, dumb, beautiful
Yeah,
ones before they
I guess-
transform into those horrifying vampire forms that is Van Helsing?
Sorry.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, I just like the idea that someone.
You
got
just like the
turned into an
idea of being
immortal.
drained of blood and dying by a woman with big vampire
Okay.
milkers.
Don't victimize me on fucking live audio, because I'm fully sweating. No, it's like, I love the idea that somebody gets to become immortal and they're like, you're a vampire now, you have to like eat flesh or drink blood to survive. And they were like, bro, I'm just gonna be really fucking sexy for a real long time, you know, and that's like their whole thing, and they're just real sexy for a real long time.
But that's
I
the
kind
thing.
of admire
People are
that
like,
level.
why? Because me and Anne talked about this last night. I literally said, if you can become a vampire, would you? She was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, me too. Because people always say, why should I be a vampire? You have to sleep all day. You have to, you only come out at night time. You have to drink blood. I'm like, I'm sorry, but one, that I'm doing 2 of those 3 things right fucking now. And I hate daylight. Like, my favorite season is winter, or favorite time of the year is winter, because I love, well, back in Scotland anyway, I loved when it was 4 p.m. and it was pitch black. It wasn't sun setting, it was 4 p.m, pitch black outside. I love that. I just love that whole winter vibe of there was nighttime super early in the day.
Yeah.
And to be immortal, not worry about diseases, illness, whatever the bullshit, to just drink blood every now and again. Like, you don't even have to become a murderer. Like, you could just go to a blood bank. You know what I mean? I mean, like, I'm sure if you live for a super long time, you're gonna have shit tons of money, and you can easily get blood like under the table. So you don't have to become a crazy murderer. If I can become a vampire, and and it wasn't, like some vampires are like now, where it's like you become a big crazy monster. If you were just like, your OG vampires, I'd totally fucking do it, man. Like, drink some blood every now and again. Yeah, I'm probably going. There's always that thing of you live forever and you can't enjoy the taste of things. But man, living forever, being super rich and doing whatever I want, yeah, sign me the fuck up.
Not to like
Absolutely.
wax philosophical, but like if you live for an insanely long time and you also have to feed on creatures that live a way shorter length of time, eventually your perception of those beings changes, right? If you live for 1,000 years, and the average human nowadays lives for like 80 to 100 years, right? You slowly start to view them as like lesser. Like, those are what you feed on. Slowly they become
who
cattle.
says I don't think that now? No, I'm kidding. I mean, there are some people there are some people that I do view as much lesser. I'm not going to change the happy tone of the podcast, but some of the people that are in prisons right now, I'm not for little silly deeds. I mean, some of the people that deserve to be in prison, they're definitely less than human.
Yeah, if you're a murderer,
to bring us back. To bring us right back onto the vampire, because, like, yes, don't like people in prison who deserve to be there, but I have to pose a real fucking super serious question to whoever. Kingsley was the one who started this hypothetical, right? I have to hit you with another question. Can I eat burgers if I'm a vampire?
You can eat raw burgers.
Well, the thing is, I think obviously you can't. It's hard to say what you can and can't do because there's so many different rules for vampires depending on what the setting or genre or writer is. But Hiccup's great.
Can I?
But I think the whole thing is, you can eat and do whatever you want. It's just you get no sustenance from it. You have to drink blood. Like, you can drink water and eat meals, but like say in this situation, we can all become vampires. We can still eat, and I'd say let's make it fair. We can still enjoy the taste of things, but we could eat 1,000 burgers in an hour. We're never actually going to feel full. It's blood.
Yeah.
The blood is the nutritional what you feel full of.
Yeah.
I would say I get it. Probably after 1,000 years, I'm not able to taste any food. I'd probably walk out into the sun. But if I could still taste everything, that's great because that's also a side bonus. You can eat whatever you want and not get fat. All you gotta do is drink blood and you're good for the day. You can eat whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, I if that's the case, then fuck yeah, I'd love to be a vampire.
Yeah, fuck it, man. I guess sign me up. I'm more of a werewolf kind of guy.
This fucking guy. There's always one. Fuck vampires, gotta be a werewolf.
No, but it's insanely fucking sick. Imagine being able to just fucking pace.
I think it'd be awesome to be a werewolf because you can have all the pros of vampires without the cons. But I'd be more better if I wasn't forced to turn on a full moon. If it was more of you can turn whenever you want and your abilities are heightened. But see if it's like I never watched it because I thought it was a girls' show, and I watched it the night before I went to Japan, and then watched it with my friend while I was in Japan airing a show called The Vampire Diaries, and I actually really, really enjoyed it. And one thing they do is the werewolves, no matter what, they are forced to turn in a full moon. Like they are forced to turn, and on a full moon they are primal. Like it's usually when they're in their wolf form, they have control, but on a full moon, they are rabid fucking animals. I don't think if I knew that was on the table, I don't think I take it, because even knowing, because what you see some of the werewolves in that show doing is, then like a couple hours before the full moon, they're tying chains around their throat, their wrist, and they lock themselves in a cellar until the full moon is over. But I mean, if that was on the table, I probably wouldn't take it, knowing that if I was like, shit, I forgot, I'd kill my whole family. But
Mate,
if I could take away the
rude.
full moon becoming an animal, I'd probably become a werewolf, because werewolves are kind of badass. They look like the Van Helsing werewolves. I don't think we've seen a movie do werewolf, the look of a werewolf, right like Van Helsing did. Even the Underworld movies, the werewolves look so stupid. But in Van Helsing, oh, the werewolves look so good.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to all the furries out there.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh no, nipping that.
Never should
No,
have
no
been out.
direct
Yeah.
hate to any communities out here, unless you are a community of murderers. Let me
yeah,
sweep
true.
it on you real quick. What's your favorite like fictional depiction of vampires? I don't say fictional because, as far as we know, they're not real.
Yeah, true.
I actually have one almost immediately, and it might be a bit of a cop-out, but for a movie that was kind of slept on, and I didn't see it until it was on Netflix, because I didn't have any friends to go see it with at the cinema, I adore, and I've watched the movie, I think, 15 times. I literally watched it, as soon as I finished it, I put it back to the beginning and watched it again, was Dracula Untold. That is a fucking phenomenal movie. I love how I love the story of Dracula. I love the shots in it. The cinematography is amazing. The writing is great. The fight scenes are badass. Before I rant anymore, have you guys seen Dracula Untold?
I haven't. I kept
You
meaning
haven't?
to watch it.
Oh,
I kept
you
meaning
need to watch.
but I didn't.
I can't remember the actor's name. He's done. He was in. He was in The Hobbit. He was the guy that killed the dragon in the third Hobbit movie. You
Luke
meet him
Evans?
Luke Evans, he is Dracula, and it's really
Oh.
amazing. So like, I won't spoil it, but I'll tell you like the first, like the kind of the intro to the movie. So basically, it's back when the Persians were doing their thing, world domination and all that.
Oh, of course.
And Vlad was taken as a child to work in the Persian army, and he was insane. He was because they took children to train them, and his dad gave him up, and he was this insane killer on the battlefield, and he would impale his enemies. And after he just done the best he could do, he kind of earned his freedom, and he became a count of Scandinavia. I think it's Scandinavia in the movie. He became a count.
Transylvania?
Transylvania, sorry. He became a count, and he's got this big castle. He looks after his people. He's not a king or anything. He's looked after his people. And then basically the Persians are doing their thing again, and they come and they say, "We want your son." And he's like, "You're not having my son. I went through it, and he's a soft boy. Like, he's not like I was. He's a boy who's had to live without this for his whole life. I'm not giving him to you." And he's like, "You either give him to us, we're going to kill everybody in this." We're like, it's during a feast. And he's like, "I'm going to go talk to the guy leading the army." And it's his son, because the guy that took him and was dead. And he's like, "Oh, you're leading it. Thank fuck, 'cause we fought together as kids. We know what it was like." And the guy's like, "No, you are not. You're not doing this." And then he goes, what about if I come back? Because Vlad's completely changed. He's a family man now. He's no longer the famous Vlad the Impaler. He's a good man. All he cares about is his country and his people, and he's no
Dad
longer
the
as crazy.
Impaler.
Yeah, essentially. And he goes, "What about if you can have me? I'm far more valuable than my son, and you know what I can do." And I think the guy was just jealous because of how much his dad loved him. Because the guy's like, "Yeah, but what if I have a chance to make your son like you but better? I'm going to take your son." And he's like, "Okay, fine." And he's like, "Also, I want all the boys from your country. All the boys will be joining my army." And he's like, "Okay, I'll do it." And then he goes, "If you don't, we're going to invade." And he talks to his council essentially, and they're like, "We have to do it. We don't have a choice to do it because we cannot fight Persia, or the Persian army." And basically, when he's saying goodbye to his son, his wife is there. The guards come to collect him, and something in him snaps, and he draws this awesome dragon. It says it because dragon head on the guard, draws it and just takes down these 5 guys in a second, and. He grabs his son, and the wife's like, "Thank you." His wife's like, "I can't believe you did that. That was amazing." But his council are like, "You have just doomed all of us, you idiot." And he heard rumors of there's this entity in a cave that can establish power. And he goes to this old man, and it's I can't remember guy's name. I'm doing so bad with names right now. He was Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones. He is just a phenomenal actor. He was the politician dude in Ali G. He's a phenomenal actor. I can't remember his
The
name.
politician dude in Ali G.
Yeah, Ali G. There's
Prime
one.
Minister.
There's like that one politician guy. I can't. Give me a second. I'm gonna have to IMDb it because this guy is one of my all-time favorite actors. He is.
Is it
just,
Charles Dance?
That's it, Charles Dance. He is a phenomenal actor, and he is this like fucked up vampire. And he doesn't look like all beautiful and gothic. He's got the long fangs, crazy long like predator nails, and he's like, I will give you my power, but it's the worst thing ever, essentially. And he's like, I don't want it forever. He goes, okay, I'll make you a deal. If you can go 7 days without drinking blood, I will take my power back. That's all you have to do. 7 days without drinking blood. But that hunger will get stronger and stronger every day. And if you even drink a tiny bit of blood, the deal is forfeit. Like the deal is that I've won the wager and I'm transferring my curse to you so I can be free. And he's like, because he's such a strong, resolved guy, he's like, I can easily do this. And instantly, the next scene is he arrives late back to the castle, and it's being sieged and everything. And his men are like, we're all gonna die, you did this. And he's like, lock the castle down. I'm going out there. And all his men are like, we know you're amazing, Vlad, but there's literally half the Persian army, like millions of soldiers outside. You can't do this. He's like, just shut the doors, make sure no one comes outside. And he just goes into this massive bat swarm and just starts raking people out through the army, lands in the middle, draws his sword, and starts cutting them up. And then it goes like a wide pan where you see him fighting with hand-to-hand combat, jumping into the air, turning into bats, lands at a different section, like a massive like thunderclap, lands and starts destroying the whole army. The next scene, he walks back inside very calmly and goes, we need to evacuate to the mountains. The Persians don't know the land like we do. And as they're leaving the castle, all 1 million of the army are being impaled on spikes. And it's fucking... And I don't want to spoil anything more because there is literally so much to the movie. But the way they deal with the lore of Dracula and Vlad the Impaler is so good. It isn't just a big, dumb, like, turn your brain off movie. You can actually sit and enjoy it. The cast is great. The acting is great. There's a good few plot twists in it that I honestly... I've got a few friends that listen to this show and they know you cannot watch a horror movie with me because within the first 5 minutes I'm like, that's the killer. Well, if it's that type of movie, obviously
Yeah, I know what you mean.
some movies there's just a killer and that's it. But like Screaming stuff, all those movies, I don't know why even since I was a kid I could go, that guy's the killer, and everyone's like, are you crazy? That's not the killer, and it's the killer. And I honestly didn't see some of the plot twists coming. It's a great movie, and I know I've talked a long time now, but just for you two, if you've not seen Dracula Untold, well, you guys are going to be in together soon. That should be the first movie you watch together, because honestly, watch it and please come back, because I've not spoiled anything at all. Watch it and come back and talk to me, or we can talk about it next podcast. But the movie, guys, for you, Harry and Kingsley, you will love the movie. It's so good. It does vampires really badass.
Yes.
I feel like I just
that's
watched
all cool. Yeah, that's all cool, but can he dunk? That's the question.
Oh, he
Yeah,
can fly,
can-
so I'm probably thinking he can probably dunk better. He can fly,
that a
he's got
legal
super
move?
strength. I mean, he's got the evasion to sunlight thing. There's a badass bit in the movie where he blocks out the sun with bats and fights an army, but I'm not going to spoil anything. But yeah, he most certainly can dunk.
Interesting. I wonder if that's like a
Batman.
legal move. To answer your original question, Kingsley, on like favorite interpretation of vampires.
Is it Resident Evil 8?
I mean, it's getting there. I still have to play it, but I mean, it's kind of up there. No, yeah, I mean, this is a cop-out answer, but I really, really love how Vampire the Masquerade.
That's
it's
not a
like the
cop out at
tabletop
all.
game.
If that's your favourite thing, man, then you're entitled to that. That's not a cop out at all, mate.
I think the
Witcher-
reason why I consider it a cop out is that like it is a series that literally is built around like, oh, there's a bunch of different kinds of vampires.
Oh,
but like
the 13
that's what I
Witcher-
like, because it kind of utilizes those, because vampires is such a spectrum, right? Over
Yeah.
the years they're so culturally prevalent that like there's bound to be different tropes that have been assimilated into like the mythos of what a vampire is. So having a place that goes, these are all different kinds of vampires that represent different aspects of this mythology together. I think that's like a really interesting way to play off of that and
Have you
to allow
got like
you
a
to
favorite
create
clan?
Oh, dude, I mean, I gotta go with the fucking Toreadors, right? Or the
Yeah.
Ventrue. Love a good Ventrue.
Ventrue are
See,
great.
I have not played Vampire the Masquerade. And Danny and Tom, that was like their little kind of friend game before I moved to the States. And they've not had a game since I've been here. And their plan was to put their campaign on break, because I was here for 3 months, and that turned to me moving here. But Tom was gave me some of the books and said, like, I want to get this going again because Anne and Danny love it. They've been doing it for a couple of years now. This one campaign. It's not the new Vampire. It's like I think it's the first one, because I know there's a few kind of like D&D. There's a few new
Is it
editions.
Bloodlines 1?
I think it's the very first one, because the books are super old, and even Tom said, because I looked up, like, I'll get dice for it. I found proper, like, because they only use D6s, and he's like, no, he goes, we play the old way, like the first book, we did not learn the new methods. Okay, that's fine. And I just started flicking through, I almost picked a werewolf, and I'm not going to say what I picked, because we've still not played it yet, and I want my character to be a really big surprise to Danny and Anne, but... Yeah, Harry, no wonder you picked that. I completely forgot that was the thing. When I fan through the pages, like, the whole thing with the Masquerade, I think the Diablo Rising is really interesting, like, super interesting to me, and just how the whole thing works. I'll say this, my idea of the Masquerade is fucking stupid. Like, I hate, and that is a slight spoiler for my character, he thinks the Masquerade's fucking retarded, because why are we hiding, his whole thing is, why are we hiding from humans? We are apex predators, they are literally cattle to be culled and guided into cages. Why are we doing this whole thing where if you expose the Masquerade, we'll kill you, no one can find out about us? Because, like, there's way more of us than there is humans. Why are we not the dominant species? And it's, oh, but we kind of are, but we're in hiding. No, an apex predator doesn't hide. And that's like, and that's because Ali read into like the lore of Vampire and was like, fuck the Masquerade, let's just rule the world.
Yeah, I mean, vampires are so sick. I wish they existed. Please, if you're a vampire, just hit me up, man.
Yeah, if there's any vampires listening, can you not make us like the Gimpy Thralls? Can you make us like full-on vampires, not fledglings,
yourself,
not Thralls? Can you make us like food? Because I don't want to become some vampire slave that has no mind of their own. I want to be like my own fucking vampire. Thank you.
Capitalism much? Boom.
What about you, King? What about you, Kingsley?
I love and I hate Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I've never watched it. I've never watched it.
So good, dude.
I didn't
It's so
have
good.
because the era it came out. You remember Sky TV, Kingsley? I never had them. When I was a kid, I had 5 TV channels, and probably some people are thinking like, "Wow, how old are you?" I'm not that old. I'm 24. I'm 25 in a couple months. But I grew up in a kind of a small poor house, and we only had 5 TV channels, so I never saw Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I'm gonna circle back and unlock a hidden memory for you, but I will finish what I was saying about Buffy. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, some of the coolest vampires you've ever fucking seen. Spike in season 3, insanely cool.
The blonde-haired guy.
Yeah, but the vampire I hate the most is Angel, because he's just moany and old and
Didn't he get his own series?
He got his own series, and I will never watch it to this day.
I remember because on Netflix they had added Buffy and something called Angel, and the name, the font was the exact same.
Yeah, it's fully the same thing, except he's like a paranormal detective or something like that. But I didn't watch Buffy growing up either. I watched it a couple of years ago. After I finished watching all of like Firefly, I was like, what else can I consume?
I love the
so
joke. I just finished Firefly. What can I watch like Firefly? Buffy the Vampire.
I was just, it was around the time that Joss Whedon, like Joss Whedon has always been big in the sci-fi space, but like
until
when
he
Joss Whedon
destroyed
was
Star Wars.
Getting a lot of
Star
love
Wars, sorry,
for
Justice League.
Marvel. Yeah. Well, Justice League is a whole other mess. Let me circle back around. Ali, do you remember an anime called Shaman King?
Oh my! As soon as you said that, in my head went Shaman King. The fucking amazing intro.
They're redoing that.
Yeah, do you remember? Because like my grandparents used to always go on holidays. We would house sit for them, and my mum, we would just take over the living room, put on Sky, before it was Jetix, back when it was Fox Kids. We would sit and just watch all it. Man, shit! You unlocked a memory. Shaman King was the best anime to grow up in. Fuck your Pokemon and your Yu-Gi-Oh! And your Digimon. Shaman King was some next level shit, man.
I mean, they're redoing it, by the way.
Shout out to my mate Sam.
Yeah, they're redoing it because the original anime of Shaman King didn't manage to get to the actual end of the original like manga of what
It's
Shaman
like
King
Full
was.
Metal
So,
Alchemist.
Well, I remember because I remember
they're
as a
doing
kid,
a Shaman King Brotherhood essentially.
because I remember as a kid, like there was such a big build up to fighting. I can't remember if it, man. I've not watched this since I was like 7 or 8, so I'm really pulling at some threads here. My brain is locked away. But it was either the main character, I think his name was Yo or something. The main character
it's
who wore
Yo.
the head. And the bad guy was either his brother or his ancestor or something.
Brother.
Brother. Yeah, and I remember there was all this hype, this big fight. I remember the big fight, and I'm remembering the animation to be as good as like current anime is, but that's the thing when you remember older stuff, it probably does not hold up.
It was
I'm
quite similar
picturing
to
like what Attack
Digimon.
on Titan looked.
No, it's very similar to Digimon.
Okay, and I remember the insane big fight, but then after that, that was it. They never had the episode after it. It just ended after the huge big fight, and I was like, "What now? Is
Yeah,
that
they only
done?"
had one season.
Yeah, man, Shaman King
yeah.
was so Yo. It
But
was Yo
it's
Asakura. That was it. Yo
Yeah.
Asakura. Fucking my brain has unlocked that piece of
man.
brain space you can't use, and I'm like, I remember everything.
It's coming out April 2021, so it's coming out this year
Oh,
in about 3 months.
baby!
We should do we should do a fucking watch party.
Yo, you best
Yeah,
believe
yo.
we're gonna be watching it.
Yo.
Fuck, I'm so
Vampires and
happy.
Hidden Memories. What a
Oh, there
trip.
you go. There's the episode title: Vampire and Hidden Memories.
Dude, Shaman King lives rent free in my mind at all times.
Fully
I remember.
rent-free.
I think she was. I think as a kid, Yo's girl. Or sorry, it wasn't his girl. It was his fucking wife. Was my
his
first
fiancé.
crush. Yeah, I think she was my first crush.
They have a kid. They have a full kid.
I think she was like the first ever goth girl I saw as a kid. I think that explains my whole teenage years. Because I was like, I don't know what this is, but I like this.
Shaman
Bro, if
King
you look at
was formative.
Sorry, go ahead. You go ahead, man.
You go for it, man.
So, I don't know if you guys know this, but Yo and Hana have a kid. And if you look at the kid is truly... I love the trope of, like, kid looks exactly like two parts of the parents swapped together. Like, it's just so hilarious, but he looks exactly like them. It's so funny.
That's so weird.
Man. So if they're going to do the whole brotherhood thing, man, I'm so excited for that. I cannot wait. I'm going to binge
it's
that hardcore.
gonna be wild.
Shaman
It's
King's
gonna
coming
be
back. I can't
wild.
believe that. That's the best news I've heard all year. That's amazing.
Yeah, right?
It's actually the best
fucking
news,
go.
man. Best news I've heard all year. Holy shit.
So sick.
I can remember so vividly sitting in your Nana and Papa's like living room watching Shaman King. It's so insane to me.
Yeah, honestly, fuck, man. It's I was like, it looked like it was just yesterday. And holy shit, yeah, the kid looks exactly. He's got the same T-shirt in the face, but the eyes and hair of the mum. I love it.
Yeah, right?
It's insane.
Like, it's just, like, perfectly swapped in. It's so funny.
Should we get a little roll going, fellas? Because I know we're talking about vampires and all sorts of shit, but we could do that for
go in.
hours.
Love vampires.
I'll give this little D12 a good spin for its money. Here we go.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Oh damn, we just crit on it. We just
just
crit on
crit
that
on
bad
it.
boy. You know that's gonna be the top 5 DM resources you make use of.
Baby. Very sick. Who wants to go first? Kingsley, it's your question. How about you go first?
Okay, if I must, I shall submit. I shall go first.
Do it. Do it.
DM resources can be like an array of things, so like map making software, things to help you roll randomized loot tables, all sorts of stuff. The biggest one that's like springs to mind right now is, and I know we all use it, and I got us on this shit, Dungeon Draft by Megasploot. Phenomenal. A great map making software.
That is how I make all my maps.
Yep. I know a little website called Cartography Assets that allows you to add things into into Dungeon Draft. I make a lot of cool sci-fi maps using that, using Gnome Factory's assets. Really cool assets, really cool program. I don't know, making use of like what is it called? RPG Tinker. RPG Tinker is a good online resource that I use that helps you create NPCs on the fly and stuff like that.
I should really use
Roll20.
that because I spend hours making NPCs names and backstories. I should really use. I think it makes it for me. Holy
this
shit!
Is a very weird tangent that I'll cover afterwards. But number three am I on? Yeah, I am. I make use of a little thing that me and Harry use, shown to us by a good friend of ours called Richard, called Giphy Glyph, which
Shout out, Richard. Love you.
shout out. It's such a great resource. Giphy Glyph allows you to create monsters and NPCs using old 4E mechanics and a really cool system of like blending it all together to work within 5E. It replaces CR, so challenge rating, with monster levels, and it allows you to create more challenging but still very well balanced 5E encounters. Another little bad boy that I use is donjon.bin, I think it is, that allows you to use like random loot tables, all sorts of cool stuff to help like speed up the game a little bit or speed up your DMing. If you don't exactly know what to reward your players with, make it random. And the number one, the best boy of all boys, is dndspeak.com. That is just a bunch of D100 channels, D100 lists that are random desert encounters, random sci-fi encounters, random on-the-road social encounters, all sorts of really cool stuff that are very nicely generated and really well written out.
Yeah,
Those are my
absolutely.
5.
Super sick.
What about you, Beryl?
Ali, do you want to go first or should I go first?
Sure. I'm really glad Kingsley clarified, because I was about to be an asshole and be like, I don't use anything because everything's in my fucking head. But when you listed all like map making stuff, I was like, okay, shit, I do use some of this actually.
Yeah.
So I do use Dungeon Draft because that's how I make all my fucking maps. I sit and painstakingly try to. Before Kingsley told me I hadn't updated it, so I didn't realize you could install more assets. I was painstakingly trying to make rooms, or battle maps look different by like finding creative ways to make tables look like something else and other things like that. I guess technically D&D Beyond, 'cause that's where I keep all my NPCs, because I will actually for certain NPCs roll them stats. Even for shopkeepers, because I like sometimes, I mean, look, I don't have any murder hobos, but in case someone was like, I'm just going to murder the shopkeeper, take all his stuff, I'm like, well, bad news for you, he's a retired level 20 fighter. But not everyone's like that. But I usually roll character sheets for all my NPCs, just in case players want to fight them, spar with them, whatever. So I'd say Dungeon Draft, there's D&D Beyond for my NPC keeping track of. Pinterest, believe it or not, because I love homebrewing monsters, so I would just type in like a key phrase like big demon or dragon without wings. I'll just look for an image and I'll put the image up on my screen and I'll start like giving it actions, legendary actions, shit like that. And also for just landscapes, because I've got a homebrew world. I will type in like fantasy countryside or fantasy city steampunk, and I'll try and find a good image I can use so I can then rate my city around the image I'm looking at. I think we also use fantasy name generator, because I do literally spend hours sometimes making NPCs, and names are really hard for me because I don't want to use a name that someone might associate, because my play group have played games with me before, and I don't want to say, like, for example, if I called an NPC Ghost, and they were like, oh, is this your character from Ark? I'm like, no, it's not. It's not, it's just the name. So even though I have a few NPCs that are very much hat tips and fan service to my friends that have played other games with me, I brought like NPCs in from our favourite video games that were my characters. But Fantasy Name Generator is great because I can get so many race names there, and if you go on their website, they've got tons of generators for like languages and stuff. Because I made up languages. I'm trying to get to 5. I think I'm at 4 right now. Because honestly, all my DM stuff, all my resources are in my head. Because my way of DMing or DM planning is put on earphones, put the music up so I literally can't hear anything outside of the earphones, and I listen to music and I sit there for 3 hours and I'm like, no, I'm going to start writing. I'm trying to think of a 5th resource. And let's say
like
Roll20, because
anything.
that's where I host my games. Like because my campaign, there is 4 players from America and 3 from America. There used to be 1 in England, but they've now moved to Scotland, and the rest are in Scotland. So my players are everywhere. So I use Roll20. That way we can all, somewhat be at a virtual table together. So yeah, that's my 5 resources, I think.
Yeah, I should have basically said 5 resources, and then like maybe 5 influence as well, because we take a lot of influences from everywhere. But Ali,
Oh, if I had to say
Harry, what are
DM
your-
influences, we'd be here all day from different animes, movies, TV shows, video games. So look, I'm glad influences wasn't on it, or I'd still be talking.
Yeah, we should add that as a question. We should add that as a topic to discuss.
Yeah, for sure,
another
for
time,
sure.
because that's a great question. But not one for right now. I love this question so much. This is one of my favorite questions that you've probably ever asked on this podcast so far, Kingsley. Because as a DM, I use so many tools. I use so many things to help me. And it's going to be extremely hard to nail it down to 5, but I will try my best.
Gun to your head, you gotta pick what chill to feed Harry.
Oh, fuck, man. So one thing that I really like using, I really like using Kobold Fight Club. Great website for balancing encounters. There's actually an option where you can run an encounter. You can adjust the amount of players and what level they're at. You can run an encounter sort of enclosed on the website to kind of see how the encounter would play out. Really useful for balancing encounters, especially with wild card parties that you're not quite sure, like, if it'll work, what the general rolling will be like. You know, it's a great thing for creating a counter so that you don't fucking murder your players. Unless you want to murder your players, then go for it. But second tool that I use something similar to Donjon. It's called 5e.tools. It is a free source website with all sorts of races and classes and feats from the books, from the raw books. It allows you to create your own DM screen. It's got like the bestiary or bestiary of all the monsters in the monster manuals. It's got all the spells and everything that you need, all of the adventures, all of the rules. It's got quick reference. It's got the conditions. You can, when I say you can create a DM screen on there, you can literally piece together different rulings that you know you're going to have to look up, piece it together on a homemade digital DM screen to have all those things at your disposal ready to go for an adventure that you've planned. And you can also load homebrew up on there. They've got like Tome of Beasts and Tome of Beasts 2 and Deep Magic from all the Kobold Press stuff.
I use that very early on. Kingsley, your first ever dungeon, the first ever session, when you fought the Manticore, the Mage, and the Anubon. That Anubon was stripped right from Tome of Beasts.
Yeah, I know, because I know own Tome of Beasts. I literally just used Salt Golems on my party.
I straight up stumbled across Tome of Beasts, I think, the week I started DMing. And I was like, oh, I literally, because I had just started DMing, only playing D&D once. Then when I saw Tome of Beasts, I went literally in my head, why did I think it was called the Monster Manual? And I opened it and it said Kobold Press. Well, I'm like, oh, this is a module. Well, I guess I'll look through it anyway. And I saw the Anubon. My brain was like, how can I make this work? Oh, the mage could make it from bones, not sand. Mortis and Quinn could recognize this. And then my brain started like connecting all the dots, and I'm like, we're fucking using this monster.
Yeah, it's a sick resource. Kobold Press, super great. Love everything they do. Deep Magic is awesome. Tome of Beasts, super sick. They're coming out with a new thing, Southlands, on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
If it's not already done by the time this episode comes out, please go and support them. They're an incredible company, and they do a lot of amazing stuff for the 5e scene. But anyways, carrying on, what was I going to say? 5e Tools is just super good. You should go check it out. It's a really useful website. It is the essence of, like, this is a place to, like, look up spell listings and stuff, all that. I've done 2. Sick.
Give us 3 more.
Sick. One that I love to use and that I always send people to when they're just starting out DMing, or not even just starting out DMing, just like learning how to get stuff done, and they need stuff to help them sort of break through the mold and break through the writer's block. I send them to dndcompendium.com. It's basically just a 900 plus resources for players and dungeon masters. They've got stuff like accents and languages, adventure guides, campaign managers, DMing tips, DMing for children. They've got DM screens that you can download. They've got generators compiled on the website. They've got homebrew compiled on the website. They've got encounters, maps and map tools, setting guides. Literally anything that you would need to run D&D is compiled with useful links of all sorts of stuff on that website, and it gives you access to those tools without you having to go search them out yourself. They have a Discord server. They're super great. It's just a really useful website to use if you're just getting into D&D and you don't know where to look to find all that stuff, and you need help finding the sort of tools that you're going to need, which is basically what we're doing right now. But this is a website that does that on a much larger scale. And yeah, I just love it.
You've never sent me that. I'm just gonna not
sorry, dude. I can send it to you right after this podcast.
I'm fucking with you, man.
No worries. What I was gonna there's three. Okay, two more. I like making maps. I love making maps. I usually make my maps on Incarnate. I'm not referring to Incarnate as my recommendation, even though I do love it. If you are new and starting out and you don't know how to make maps and you don't have money and you can't buy Incarnate, because there is a free version of Incarnate, but the paid version is very, very good and very fun and very useful. Asgar's fantasy map generator is incredible.
So good.
You can customize all sorts of things about it, and it creates a full named kingdom that you can edit and change and do all sorts of crazy stuff to, and it's really useful for people who kind of just want to sort of start dipping their toes into world building and are like, oh, I'm not quite sure where to start, so I'll just sort of start with a generator, which is similar to like fantasy name generator. It kind of gives you a heads up, gives you a start, gets you.
Asgard is great. It's one thing I hate is because back in my Game of Thrones RP days, when I was going to, this is really funny because I think it was like 2 months before I started DMing. I wanted to start a new RP server in a fantasy world, and that ended up I ended up never creating that RP, but that world ended up getting turned into my D&D campaign. When I was getting ready to make this RP, one of the girls in the Game of Thrones RP said, "For making the map, I'll give you my link to this so you can download it." I was like, "Really, thank you." And it was Wonder Draft, but man, do I suck dick. I'm fine with Dungeon Draft, but man, I wish I was good at using Wonder Draft. 'Cause I've seen the maps people have made. Fuck, I've even seen the maps you've made, Harry. And I'm trying to get good at it, but I just can't get my head around it. Because I've got a campaign 2 coming up. And I say coming up. My campaign 2 won't be for like a year or two. But I really want to use Wonder Draft for it. But I'm just so bad at it. Like, I get somewhere with like the molding tools. Like, this looks pretty good. And I see someone who knows how to use it with the shading and the stuff and the way they've dropped these certain objects. And I'm like, yeah, fuck this. Then I just Google map generator.
Yeah, I mean, maps it's a really sort of fun gesture. Let me just preface this by saying, if you're not making a map for your players, it's totally fine. And it's like, every DM does stuff differently, and everybody focuses on different things and has different strengths that lie in different places. It's just like creating a battle map, a big, elaborate battle map for your friends, or creating little miniatures for them. It's all icing, it's all frosting, but it can be sort of like a labor of love to sort of render out the world in front of your players. But Asgar's fantasy map generator is such a good tool because it allows you to create incredible maps that look awesome and have continents and lines and rivers and mountains and such. But it kind of puts the power in the hands of people who don't have the ability to access these map making softwares. It's really, really useful. Yeah. And that's why it's one of the tools that I use or would recommend that other people use when they're DMing, because it's just awesome and really useful.
Asgard's right now actually have this thing where it not only generates your provinces and everything, it generates cultures and religions. It also generates armies. And in the campaign I run really for you guys, I actually use Asgar's. And the great thing you can do is you can actually have armies fight each other on Asgar's, and it will do a full...
Okay, when this episode is done on a different day because we have a chalk schedule, I need you to show and tell me to do all that, because that will be really important when it comes to a big arc I've got planned later on, and I didn't know it could do that, so that's fucking awesome.
Fully, it's a new feature. It's insanely cool. It gives you a detailed battle report. It creates you can change the army figures, so you can say how many heavy foot soldiers, what kind of technology they have, and fight them together, like make them fight one another. So like if your players are in a different part of the continent or on a different continent together and they've set something in motion, you can actually have that play up, and instead of rolling dice you can just use Asgard's map and just fight the armies themselves. But I'll let you finish your other recommendation.
Yeah, thank you. But no, Asgard's is super, super sick, and I love it. And I would recommend it to anyone who is looking to make a map. Um, I'm torn, boys. I'm torn on my last one. Um, I love using generators, and generators not even necessarily to name stuff, but when you're naming a town and you're naming a person or you're naming a faction or whatever, um, there are like I love going into generators and picking apart the words that they've given me and being like, okay, they've used this first part of the name of this town. I'll mix and match that with something that I've got in my head because generators are really useful for stimulating the imagination when it comes to coming up with a name. When you have sort of writer's block like that. So I have probably about 10 generator websites in my bookmarks tab at all times. And one that I really, really like to use, Seventh Sanctum, is my main squeeze. I love Seventh Sanctum. It's an incredible writer's tool. Kingsley, you referred to a D100 website earlier. I believe that was D&D Speak, was it?
Yeah,
or was it something
D&D
else?
Speak.
Yeah. D&D Speak is phenomenal for generators and coming up with that kind of stuff. Seventh Sanctum, Fantasy Name Generator, these all sit in kind of like the same bubble of like, you don't know what to name something as, you don't know what hooks you can use, and if you're kind of caught dead in that, just go through some generators. In the description of this video, maybe I'll give you guys some links to some generator websites that I've got saved up that I haven't referenced here, but anyone who's watching, if you need to use those, we can just supply those resources to you guys so you guys can hit them up because they're super, super useful and useful for any DM to have in their arsenal ready to go.
Quick shout out.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I know we both own these series of books. The Table Fables 1 and 2 by Madeline Hale and the Arcane Artifacts and Curious Curios by Madeline Hale. They are godsends. They are absolute. For the way me and Harry used to play D&D, which was our friends would ask us to do it really quick, we would pull these books out, run through them, and just come up with like some kind of cohesive story in the space of an hour or so.
Absolutely.
Really helpful books if you're caught short on something. Arcane Artifacts and Curious Curios addresses a problem that Ali finds in D&D, which is there aren't enough magic items. Arcane Artifacts and Curious Curios is about an inch thick, maybe a half-inch thick. It's insanely big, and it's so good.
Yeah, it's just packed, dude. It's like all of those books are tirelessly used by me, incredibly great resources just to flick through, and they are all just fun and easy to read. You know, they're just like good reading books, and I often find to DM and people say like, oh, if you've been DMing for a really long time, obviously you would have an easier handle on it. I find that if I or other people, if you just have D&D books around you, whether that be books that give you ideas for magic items or books that tell you about pre-made encounters, just reading those on your spare time, not even trying to absorb the knowledge to use for your session, just reading them can help sort of develop that D&D sense of like, what goes into making an encounter? What does a pre-made encounter look like? What are they doing? It's the same for modules as well. Like, what are these pre-made things suggesting I do? And having those just things in the back of your mind and reading those resources and sort of weaving them into the tapestry of your mind, just subconsciously can be always so, so useful. If you're a new DM looking to try and figure out how to make a splash with your players, it can really get your brain in the zone subconsciously without you even trying to prepare for your next session or your next adventure.
I use a lot of weird reference things. So I've got like a few things that I read mainly for like D&D, but also for like my own weird pleasure. I've got a book of just full of architectural reference, so it's all about architectural details and all sorts of stuff. I find that helps with visual things. I've got a book of Buddhist poetry, so when I need to like wax philosophical on my players with a high level NPC or something like that, you know, the Buddhist poetry kind of helps enforce that worldview. I've got a big encyclopedia of battle. I've got The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Like any kind of thing. I even have like the Odyssey by Homer. All of these weird little things like kind of impact how I run my games and how I play my characters. Any kind of book, if you can find a niche fantasy book that none of your players have ever heard of, it's an amazing resource because none of them will know about any of the cool things you know about, and you can use them.
Totally.
Until your friends start consuming those pieces of media and come at you like, hey, these weird little crystal things, aren't they? And yes, they are. So, you know, hush your little voice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just reading and consuming media can be one of the greatest influences on a DM than any of the resources that we talked about. Just like just reusing things that you find cool, or changing things around, or hearing these classic stories or classic literature, or even just fucking anime or a movie or a TV show that you watch. Just like, it's okay to take inspiration from these things. It's okay to shamelessly be like, that was a cool thing I saw. Let me use that. I want to channel that. I want to sort of manifest that in my setting somehow. It's okay to do that. And this is to all DMs, new, old. You can do what inspires you and makes for a great story and makes your friends happy and also makes you happy, because it's also your game as well.
Yeah. You got to remember that as a DM, you're also still a player. So, you know, it makes sure you're having fun as well as your players.
Yeah, absolutely. As a DM, you're the arbiter of fun, but that also applies to you, you know? Like, you also should be feeling fun and having fun with...
You should be feeling fun.
You should be feeling fun. No, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. This got slightly off topic, but, like, you know, at the end of the day, we play Dungeons and Dragons not to be dicks to each other, not to kill the baker, not to steal all the loot from the dragon, or I guess you can, but it's to tell a story, sit back, relax, tell a story, and have fun with your friends, and have fun with the people at the table, because that's why we enjoy this hobby, because it's great. Anyways.
It's brilliant.
It's brilliant. We've spent a lot of time on this topic. I love this topic. Kingsley Giles, would you like to roll the dice?
Yes. I'm going to kick your ass if you rumble that desk again, because it makes Jamie's life so bad. I'm
so sorry, Jamie. I will do it again. But
all right.
I'll do it again.
Here I come with another little topic roll. Oh,
here I come.
Oh, D12 of Destiny, what do you have in store for me today?
Kirby's out to play.
Fully, this must be a weighted dice, because I got a 12.
Roll it again.
I did. 12. NPCs. How do you use them? How do you integrate them? And, you know, maybe we can talk a little bit about Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, but we don't have to.
I still need to read that.
This is actually crazy, because this is like, without picking this topic, something Ali said, I wanted to pick on that. Not like pick on it like, oh, you fucking idiot, more like take away from it.
Yeah, in this episode we bully Ali.
Yeah, this is the episode where we break Ali down.
Bully myself on a daily basis.
Beginning of the episode he was 6'4", end of the episode he's gonna be 5'2". We're taking his legs, baby.
Epic.
I
wanted to ask Johnny, suit the leg.
Yeah, because you said what you do is you do full character sheets for all of your NPCs. And I know like a lot of DMs will just like make stat blocks and stuff like that, but how do you guys do your NPCs? Is it full stat blocks, or is it like full character sheet or something like that.
Really depends on the NPC. Like, for example, the girl you guys met in your first ever session, Astrid, she never had a stat block because she was just a tavern. She was a tavern owner's daughter. She was still a young girl. I think she only was about 15, 16. So she didn't have a stat block. I mean, if something were to happen with her, I'd just use the
Commoner.
The commoner, yeah, the commoner on the monster manual because that's all she was. Really depends on the NPC I'm making. Like, for example, when I think the best one to go with is Gideon, an NPC you guys fucking love in my
Gideon
campaign.
Lovely.
Yeah, Gideon Lovely. He is a very lovely man, and he's probably. I have to be honest, he's probably up there with my favorite NPC I've ever created. I love Gideon.
He's possibly my favorite NPC.
And he wasn't even.
right
He
next
wasn't. He's not even like a reference or an Easter egg to one of my characters. He's just someone I made, and he just somehow gelled so well with the party.
It's never the NPCs. This is a quick like pull away. It's never the NPCs you create and be like, oh, this is going to be the party's favorite NPC. It's always some dumb fucking thing. It's always some NPC you make up on the fly. I literally last session in my sci fantasy campaign, I had a friendly little druid show up, and all I had for like the encounter written out was they meet an old druid in the desert who tends to her plants, and she offers him a cup of cactus juice, which makes him hallucinate.
Cactus juice, it'll quench ya.
And eventually,
Nothing's quenchier.
these are full villains, but this friendly old lady that gave them hallucinatory like juice fully became their favorite NPC, and I was just like, someone was like, oh, I know her name immediately because I have the ring of unnecessary introductions. I was like, oh fuck yeah, of course you do. Her name is Elena Stormbrass. And just fully made up this level 20 wizard that I will probably never use again. But she became their favorite that they've ever met so far, and all of the other NPCs I put so much work into, you know?
Yeah, that's what it was like with me with Gideon. A reason I made him is, like, when I was first designing Gideon, I was like, right, because I think you guys were still trying to track down or find someone who could track that essence you found of Vecna. And I was like, right, how am I going to do this? I was like, Atarax's patron can be one of them, but he never went down that route. And I was like, well, Leroy, who was actually a character I had made as a backup character that never got used, I ended up bringing him in for fun as an NPC. And I was like, he would know Gideon, and Gideon's a super powerful mage. And I just remember thinking, like, do I have to do stats for him? And then conveniently I remembered, I was like, wait, Kingsley's in this party. And his track record so far has been attacking and pissing off so many different people that I'm going to roll stats for Gideon. And also, if shit were ever to happen, they can see that this wizard they've befriended is someone not to fuck with. Like, if he ever joined them in a fight, or maybe in a later arc, if his home get attacked, you can see him in action. So when I started writing the character, I was like, Gideon's a 100-year-old human, looks about late 50s. Rolled his stats up. I rolled terrible stats for his intelligence, so I actually tweaked them and gave him max intelligence because a wizard is 100 years old who was a war mage and the world's leading wizard at the time. He would definitely have higher intelligence, so I thought it made sense to actually manually override his intelligence and give him max intelligence. But I initially rolled him because I thought Mortis is going to 100% try and steal something from him or fucking piss him off, so I need to see what his passive perception would be, so I had to roll stats and have him ready in case the party decide to fight a level 15, well, he's now level 20, because at the time I didn't really know how to balance NPCs. He's now level 20 wizard, and I was like, let's see what happens. So I rolled him that way. But with other times, I wanted to... for example, I think it was when you guys went to Black Hollow and you met Lord Commander Alexander Northcote.
Yeah.
There was a very high chance if you guys hadn't of quelled the problem in the I forget what that thing's called. That fucking thing that almost killed everyone. It's like the Bolga or something, or the whatever it was.
Bolgert?
What? Sorry.
Bolgert?
I can't remember. It's that thing that's got a horrible stretched face, and if you look at it and you fail the save, you drop to 0 hit points. I can't remember what it's called. That is, there's a very high chance if you guys hadn't stopped that threat, that you'd have seen the attacks on the city that you only heard about would have actually happened again. So I didn't want to just be like, you see him and he just massacres all these goblins. No, I wanted to actually have him in there fighting with the party. So I rolled him stats, rolled him a class, rolled him a character sheet, and that way, if the party failed, they'd actually to see him in action without me just winging made up stats. I wanted him actually have a character sheet so I could reference it in combat if he was fighting alongside the party defending Black Hollow.
It was a Bodak. It was a Bodak.
Bodak, that's it.
Yeah,
Bodak.
I remember because I was watching BoJack Horseman at the time, and I was like, "Hey, wait a minute."
Bodak.
Yeah, it's never like creating NPCs is always a trip because it feels like it's almost different each time. Not like actually genuinely different each time, but like you kind of have a different method for each either campaign or world you have. For me, it's weird because I have a mixture between like I don't know how to word this without spoiling anything in my campaign. For certain NPCs, you have plans for them, and those plans include eventually fighting the PCs. Or dying. And it like, you know, it can be ages and ages and ages away, but you want to have those stats on deck if they ever do get into combat. So it's do you create a full stat block or do you create a full character sheet? Which is easier for you as a DM to manage? After finding Giphy Glyph, I've found that, you know, I can just take certain things and create a manageable stat block. But there are still some things like I like to have a character sheet. Because to me, as a DM, it feels more like I'm playing along with the PCs. It's not like a DM PC, but it is like, it gives me the feeling of like, you guys are playing your character, here's a character that I am playing alongside hundreds of other characters. And there are genuinely times as a player where you forget sometimes that the DM is playing those other characters, and you're like, oh, Ali's gone to the toilet, I'll just ask Leroy something. Oh, right, of course.
Yeah.
What about you, Harry? How do you manage your NPCs?
I mean, it's like you say, it's kind of different every time, but I mean, so when I start a campaign, and I know this is like super not great advice because like no one DM is going to be able to use this, but like I kind of start out and I go, I'm going to make like 10 NPCs, right? And I kind of rank them in like circles, like rings of relevancy, like characters. So I'm completely out of order because this is how I do my DMing. Everything on my notes page is like a fucking mad scroll.
Same.
Pepe Silviev looking ass. But like I order the NPCs by relevancy of like, this character needs to exist. We're probably not going to see them for a while, right?
Yeah.
And that is backstory characters, your parents, your siblings, your rivals, your what have you. Like, off the cuff, look at everybody's backstories, establish NPCs that need to exist because they're in their backstory. Then the second ring of NPC ideas that I think would be fun to do. Don't know how to introduce them yet, but they're somewhere. They're floating around.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. I've got so many NPCs at the party are just waiting to meet.
Yeah, exactly. Like NPCs that you up at like 2 a.m. and you're like, oh, cool. It would be cool if I could find a way to work this NPC in.
Dude,
like,
fucking hell! It feels like you're just airing out my laundry in my brain. Like I've got private Discord. There's a section called NPCs. It's got a different channel for like big bad story hooks, plot ideas, and like I've got so many just like 2 a.m. crackhead like, let's fucking make this an NPC.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just NPCs that you start out with and you haven't made a stat block for them, and you're like, this would be a cool character to have nebulously. And that's always a good bank to keep full, because then you can just be like, if there's a moment of like dead air in the middle of the campaign, you're like, you meet Wilbur Big Boy, and he's here to rustle up some mighty steeds, and like he sells fucking mounts or whatever, and like, oh cool, he's just here now, and like he's just interacting with the party, and like you can come up with whatever you want, but like it's just like that's just fuel for the fire. And then the final ring is NPCs that I know I want them to be interacting with from the start, right? NPCs that I'm going to introduce They
They're
have a
like
purpose.
quest
They
givers.
are.
Like your quest givers and shopkeepers and stuff.
Yeah. Like your characters that are definitely going to be relevant. So yeah, when I start a campaign, I take that final ring, that third ring of characters. I'm gonna swap around the numbers because it's kind of hard to understand. But like the first ring of characters that people will meet, and I make 10 of them. I make 10 to 12 characters. And sometimes, literally, those characters, I'm just ripping off another NPC I made in another campaign. If I can't come up with 12 ideas off the top, sometimes it's just like, oh, this is a fun idea. Take some characters you got in your second ring of like, oh, this is a fun idea, but I don't know where to put them. Come up with a reason, just like just get that initial 12 right there. And now, keep in mind, the party's not going to interact with all of them, but have all 12 of them there. Make stat blocks for 6 of them, right? The ones that you feel will be the most relevant. For example, your characters all work for a mercenary guild or a mercenary group or whatever the fuck, a band of mercenaries. Maybe making a stat block for their boss, who they're going to talk to eventually because he's their boss. Make a stat block for him because he's extremely relevant. He'll come up in conversation. They'll go talk to him. Basically establish that sort of inner circle of like, these are the 12 NPCs that I'm going to include. Now, don't make stat blocks for all your NPCs, right? I know it's very, very, like, it's exciting. It's like, oh, I'm a DM who's prepped for anything. Do not prep for everything because 85% of that is not going to be used. And then they're going to go talk to an NPC, like we said before. They're going to go talk to an NPC they have nothing on, and they're going to fall in love with them, and then they're going to be their favorite NPC. And then all the work you did on all those other NPCs are going to be fucking nothing because they're not going to talk to fucking John, the busboy. It's like, no, like, don't make a stat block for John the busboy. No one needs to know how strong John is.
And
okay?
that's the
He's
thing is, like, when I first decided to like bring my backup character in that never got used, but a few people had heard of it because I told them the idea, it was never to be an NPC. I just had him as the bard singing in a tavern. It was meant to be, for people who had heard about Leroy, this plan I had, to be like, oh, cool, that's actually him. But he was just there to sing, and the party ended up inviting him over to their table for drinks, and it spiraled into like this NPC that went on like 2 different quests with them, and they fucking fell in love with.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I'm getting off topic now. I'm going to swing back onto topic, but about NPCs. I like to establish those rings of relevancy to sort of give myself a visual representation of, here are characters that I know must exist, but I don't have any plans for them just yet because they are adjacent to the PCs, who are the drivers of reality in this game. Things become more real as the PCs come in contact with them story-wise, narratively. Second ring of character ideas that are fun, but like, I don't know how to use them because they're not relevant. And then the first ring of characters that are relevant and will be in the story from the beginning. Now, I work backwards sort of. So I give every character, every NPC, I give them 3 bullet points. And those bullet points can be super fucking vague or very, very specific. John the busboy. He is anxious. He is squirrely, and he is really fucking good at balancing plates on every part of his body.
Wow, that's actually interesting hearing your creative way for that, because that's what I do. Even Kings will tell you, like, there'll be NPCs that I'll have that are like a bullet point. I want to make them all feel different, not like a video game where they're all the same with different voices. I'll have ones that are like untrusting. I'll have ones that are bad at bargaining. I always give them I always give 3 bullet points, and then I usually say number 3 for different characteristics to make them feel different.
I do it as well
interested to
since
hear
me
you
and
do
Ali
the
talked
same
about
way.
it. Literally since we talked about it, Ali, I've done the same, and it helps my game feel a little bit more alive.
Yeah, this is
absolutely.
a little fun thing.
And you can glance at your sheet and instantly know how you're supposed to play that character, even if you don't have their full backstory, you don't have their stat block. But working backwards, I give every NPC 3 bullet points, and just very, very basic or very, very specific things, whatever you want to do. And that can work for joke characters. Like, I have, in my Ravnica game with some friends that I'm running, I have Roger, the Cursed, right? And Roger is a recurring comedy NPC who truly cannot die. And every time they see Roger, he is in some compromised position. He's being stabbed by 15 Boros guards, but he can't die. Or he's hung upside down and he can't get out of a trap or whatever. And that's the comedy of it. That's his bullet point. Every time they see Roger, he can't die. He's never in any mortal danger because he can't die. He's just constantly very unlucky and in an unlucky situation. So every time I know Roger's in a scene, that's the thing that he's doing. Right?
I full on might steal that NPC idea. Full disclosure.
Yeah, like I have a table of I have a D20 table of like how does Roger exit the scene, and it's always something like horrible. Like they were talking to Roger and they were like, okay, we freed you from whatever unlucky thing you were in. Go off and live your life, Roger. And he goes, thank you, everybody. I'll see you soon. And then he walks out into the street and gets fully run over by a car and carried off into the sunset going, oh no, not again. And then like that's the last thing we see of Roger. And then the next time we see Roger, he's trapped in a fucking cage. He's like, oh guys, can you help me out of the cage? And they're like, yeah, sure, Roger. And they get him out the cage and a fucking pterodactyl swoops down and carries him off to the nest. He's like, bye guys. And like, that's Roger. And like, you can create NPCs with literally 3 lines, and that's a memorable NPC that everyone knows that's his whole shtick. But then working in, you get to the more relevant characters. You give them 4 bullet points, 4 or 5, and you go, they've got multiple aspects to them. And then when you get to the really, really relevant characters, you give them a good few bullet points, give them an arc, give them a thrust or a story, give them a purpose, something they are doing over a period of time. Basically, give yourself a note of like, when we aren't seeing this character, what is their main goal and their drive? And that is what defines a more relevant story character than a background character with only 3 things about them, somewhat static, not static, but like somewhat solidified. The characters that are super relevant to me, I make them more relevant by keeping them fluid. They're changing. When they're away from the NPCs, I keep a note. What are they doing? What are they looking for, right? Any of my players in my Ravnica campaign, you might not be listening to this, but like there are certain characters that they meet who I know their daily lives and I know what they're scared of. So when we don't see them, I know what they're doing, even if it never comes up into conversation. So that when they come back, I always have that constant tab of like, they expect this character to be changing just like how the PCs are changing because they're important. And that's how I make characters feel more important and different. They're changing along with the characters when we're not looking at them. And that's kind of how I deal with NPCs. And then, of course, if a character becomes super relevant, obviously make a stat block for them. Or just fucking rip a stat block out of the monster manual. I don't fucking care, you know? Do whatever the fuck you want.
Reflavor that bad boy.
Reflavor that bad boy. And yeah, I mean, reflavoring this, it's so damn fun, don't you think, Kingsley?
I really think so, and I'm sure your roommate would also agree.
I wonder who my roommate is. His name starts with a K and it rhymes with Shingsley.
No idea.
I would have said it rhymes with Princely, but that's just me. Before we end that topic, there is another way that I've started doing some of my NPCs, major NPCs that is take an existing character and bring them into the world. For example, when I was first writing the arc for Kingsley's character, they needed an NPC to get them into Hell's Basin. It's this place in my world where it's just full of krakens and aboleths, and no sailor goes near it because they'll be fucked up, obviously. And I was like, there's no reasonable way for the party to go down there. I'm not expecting my party, even if there is 9 of them, 9 level fucking 6s to take on krakens and aboleths, they will fucking die.
Yeah.
So how can I make them get down there? And I was like, okay, there's to be like another pirate, another pirate lord that has way, either an artifact or a magic wielder or a person who can keep the Kraken's aboleths calm to swim by them or or to sing them a song or whatever to keep them away from them long enough to get to the bottom of the ocean, grab the relic and get up. I was like, what could I use for that? And then I had the idea of, wait, why instead of trying to put all this work into an NPC when I can pull out a character that I've created in my head somewhere else? So even if you guys do it, no matter the game, even if it's Pokemon or Skyrim or whatever, for me personally, I instantly start building a story around them. So for like Pokemon Sword, I had, as the story was going and I was catching Pokemon, I had developed this like whole RP in my head just for my character. And even after I caught this like fabled, is this what this the one that is this energy gives off the ability to make Pokemon Dynamax. After my guy caught him in my head, I went and dyed his hair white because the stress of it made his hair go white, and he went into a coma. And you always do little stories like that in your head with every game you play. And there was a game me and Kings used to play in the summer with a bunch of other friends called Atlas. And I named my character in that Hawkins Haywell, and I had written a whole backstory in my head for him because that's just how my brain works. And when I was trying to come up with this NPC in my game to help Morrison go out, I was like, oh shit, wait, why instead of trying to create a whole new NPC, why did I just bring a character in that I know that they don't know about? I'll bring in Hawkins and make him canon in my world. And that's how some NPCs have come to life. If it's an important role, instead of putting all that work into trying to make something new, I'll just pull a character that from my backlog of playing games in my head that I made up a story for.
Yeah, and you even brought in some of our characters. Because weirdly enough, when we started playing Atlas, I was like, because we've been playing D&D before we played Atlas, and I was like, oh, I'm going to create my character in this pirate game that is the father of my character in the current D&D campaign that I'm playing. And because of that, like, Hawkins Haywell knows my father, my character's father. Some of the other players in our campaign, their characters from Atlas are in...
Hawkins crew,
yeah.
Bacon's character from Atlas, Rourke Alacaster, and Anne's Crow, they were both NPCs, and I was still giving my players a bit of fan service because they would definitely recognize names they gave their characters in a different game, in a video game, and that'd be fun for them. And that's why when Morris spoke to him for the first time, when Hawkins was like, yeah, I knew your dad, Kingsley, Morris was like, you knew him? But Kingsley was like, oh shit, that's right, because the whole idea he had in his head was his dad was sitting around with Hawkins, so I was a bit of fun flavour I threw on it. Like, why make up a new character when I have one already built up in my head that I know very well?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I also
just
have
on that
an
topic.
NPC. Oh, sorry, Harry.
Oh, no. You were way ahead of me. Please go ahead.
I always have an NPC in a campaign, and you guys have seen this. It's not just an NPC. It can sometimes be a whole bunch of NPCs that I like to call the sacrifice. And it's nothing like horribly malicious or anything like that. It's fully just like, I want to show my players that the world has consequences, so I always have an NPC that gets along with them very well, that subsequently gets very hurt or gets murdered, and shows them that the steady state world is much more dangerous than it seems.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what was it? Going into the Root campaign, Kingsley, all of the NPCs I created were sacrifices.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
In my campaign, it was the fact that you guys had that big whole objective-orientated encounter after your first 3 sessions. And in your session zeros, you all had a tiny little village that you all helped out. Those villages were the sacrifice. Those were the ones that these enemy necromancer/wizards were burying in sand. And you had to fight the encounter to try and save those villages. And if you didn't, consequences happened.
Yeah, I did something similar with that with Gideon when he tried to break Sylvia's curse. You saw how injured he got, and like a level 20 wizard was bleeding from his nose and ears and could barely stand. That was like, look, this is your sign to not fuck with this any further, because if a level 20 wizard who is like the straw, who's been told used to be pretty much the protector of this realm, is now being almost crippled and he needs to actually take a breather, this is how badly he got hurt. Because I felt like my players were going to go on this ever-ending quest to try and bring her soul back, and that was me being like, look what happened to him. You guys are level 7. What will happen to all of you if you fuck with this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry. Before we drop out of this NPC talk, I have one last thing that I think is really, really awesome. Never underestimate the power of asking your players to come up with NPCs they know. Basic stuff, right? Whether it's just like, I have these 2 friends, and like they're my friends, and like these are their names, and this, like, very basic stuff, like, oh, this guy works here, and this guy works there. Like, ask your players to come up with some NPCs that their character knows. Ask them to come up with, like, if they give you a backstory in a faction that they were a part of, say, oh, yeah, okay, and then you yes and them and go, and you know this guy specifically. You give them that information before the game has even started, mind you.
Yeah, no,
And
that's a big
play
thing.
into that.
I get that from a few of my players. Got a number of NPCs, and I was like, "Thank you. I will use this. Happily use this. The more you give me, the more like I'm in the big mindset of is whatever a player, like for example, when they're building their backstory, giving me a character, whatever they give me, I will give 10 times back.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think it's interesting because it's fun to do that, you know, to create those characters and like sort of show your players like, yes, I'm listening. Like, give me stuff I can work with. I will incorporate it as well as I can, or however I feel like is tasteful enough to like incorporate it. And it's also really funny when you have like people who are first playing D&D, and this is no slight against them because this is a perfectly reasonable way to play D&D, but like people who first play D&D and go like, I'm an orphan and like I am a rogue, and then I joined a thieves guild, and then everyone in the thieves guild died, and it's like that's like awesome, and like you can play that however you want. Like just know that you're not gonna know anyone. Like if everybody you know is dead, you're not going to have a dynamic with people that you knew in the past. And that's fine. But like, then they get into the game and they see people with like, oh, a loving mother and a father. And they have like these really like incredibly emotionally resonant scenes with like people that they know. And they're like, oh, I kind of want that. And they kind of come back and they go, hey, I know I said that my parents died and everyone in the thieves guild is dead, but then they go like, what if there were like a few survivors, or like one of my parents died and one of them is alive? And it's like you see that understanding of going from like, it's very cool to play the loner wanderer out for themselves, but it's those ties, those social ties, because that's what we are as humans. We're social beings. It's those social ties that characterize them. It's those social ties that make them memorable, and it's those dynamics. Your character's not going to be a badass alone.
Well, that
And that's not going
actually happened with one of my PCs when Bacon, shout out to you, I know you watch this, buddy, I love you. It was also your birthday yesterday, so happy birthday, my friend. Even though I already
Big
wished it
shout out
to
to
you, but I'll
Bacon's
wish it to
birthday.
you in this video as well, so you get all flustered and you're sitting watching it in your bedroom. Happy birthday, brother, again. When his character arc was done, he retired and brought a new character in, and he gave me his backstory. His wife and child were dead, and I was okay, noted they're dead. And then when the party met a hag and they were all asking questions in return for something else, he came out of nowhere. He didn't talk to me about it prior, and came out with asked the hag, "Where's my son? Is he alive?" And I was super confused because when I had read the backstory, he had confirmed that Slab knew his son was dead and his wife was dead. That's what drove him crazy. But when he was asking that, I was like, does he just realize all the PC asking about their loved ones? Does he want to have someone alive? So I just rolled with it and was like, yeah, your son's alive and he's being kept as a slave in a mine, like east of here.
yeah.
I just done that on the fly. So I was like, if he's bringing this up, clearly wants to be alive and not dead like he given me. So I was like, fuck it, sure, why not? He's alive now. Yeah, he's alive. Why not? Because he wanted that. On the other end of the spectrum, just to compliment Kingsley. Kingsley, for when he started making this pirate as fuck character, I said, if you could give me some acquaintance, the people you fucked or people you're friends with, that would be great. Kingsley full on sent me 30 NPCs. He sent me a list that was allies, he gave me members of the crew, then he gave me enemies and backstories on the enemies and how they became that, and that fueled this whole arc. I didn't have to make all these crazy people because I was using like the 30 plus names Kingsley had already given me to form the crew of the Shackled Hand and Richard Mandan, this corrupt politician in charge of his own private militia, which he just defeated. And there's all these other characters still to come out because Kingsley was full on like, here's 30 NPCs and not just names. Here's a little bit of info and here's the classes they are and how I know them and how all the dots connect. And I was shocked. Not in a bad way. I was like, oh my god, he's just given me so much to work with. And it's not even like just this name's, this guy's called Harry. Yeah, I know my backstory, that's it. No, it was fucking, here's their name, here's how I know them, here was the last time I saw them, here's who else they know how to get to me through these other people. Like, for example, he was at Mr. Smoke, Quartermaster, Human Swashbuckler, currently Morris's most trusted friend. Then another bullet point, known as Elliot was a younger privateer under Morris's father's command. Another bullet point, was there for Mortis after the loss of his wife Lucille. Like, all that shit, I'm just like, fucking hell, that's so much. That's one NPC, I've got like 30 more here, and it's really helped me, and I molded them into my own thing, but I loved how much info I got from the get-go.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
I love pirates. What can I say? Pirates are sick as fuck. And making all the NPCs is fun. Making an NPC for your DM and subsequently being able to kill that motherfucker. Oh,
Oh yeah,
it felt
so
so
sick.
good. Richard Mandane is
You killed a guy
dead.
you've been trying to kill for a year of the campaign. Real life, so I'm glad you finally got that goal.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
even
and
like.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I even like I had prepared beforehand. I was like, I'm going to kill Richard Mandane today, which is the big bad for me. And I wrote out a whole speech that I was going to deliver when I killed him. And it's just moments like that in D&D, mamma mia.
Oh,
Your
so good.
DMs will 100% give you 10 times what you give them.
Oh yeah, and it's so awesome. And I mean, I love the sort of it's hard to sort of quantify, right? But like, you get a character, and everybody outside of the campaign has been hearing about the character, and they know this guy's dad is bad news, right? And we know he exists, and we know he's in the background. And you go through a few sessions, you go through the first adventure, what have you. Never even mention him, right? We know he exists, but he's totally not on the forefront of our mind. The moment, meta narrative wise, when the dad shows up and he introduces himself, and he's a perfectly jovial guy, and he's super he commands respect, and he shows up, and everybody knows that's his dad, and we know what he's all about as players, but not as characters. It's just that it's a moment that cannot be recreated in any other game, right? It's just like it's that respect that that sort of scene commands, knowing just how important this scene is to another character. Might not even be happening to that character, but that player knows, like, I did this to myself. I made that character. I gave that to the PC, to the DM. I told him this guy exists. I gave him all that. I know just how bad things are now that he's stepping in. And I can't do anything about it. I have to sit here and listen to him get introduced. It's just like, it's just truly an incredible moment out of time. Just similar to your, I made this big bad for my character, now I get to murder him. Like, it's that same feeling, you know?
Same energy, and it feels damn good.
It feels damn
And
good.
I feel like killing an NPC that you created in the Ultimate Revenge Act is the best way to end this segment and this episode. That has been us at Saving Throws. Please leave a like, share this video, and subscribe, or we will kill your favorite NPC. See you next time, folks.
See ya.
Adios.